Here's a quote from Einstein that I like, where he kind of talks about the two sides of the brain. The intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant. We have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift. So Einstein, again, ahead of the game. My name, again, Kevin Audley. I'm a licensed counselor. I have been a coach and counselor for 30 years. And over the years, I found some tools that I give my clients to make their life easier and less stressful. A lot of people try to think their way out of problems and eventually arrive in counseling or coaching when trying to logically think things out and figure your way out of a problem is not working. So we're going to get into the brain a little bit. And again, I got into this in the second video. 90% of people are left brain dominant, according to Google. It's the logical side of the brain. It's where your words and action plan is. The details, it's more focused on short-term gain. Most of the educational system is focused on left brain. You got to be good with details and have a plan, and it focused on the individual. But that's also where your attention's at. Because if everything doesn't go according to plan, and that's the final piece there, order and control, this is the side of the brain that gets stuck, and this is the side of the brain that overreacts and sometimes goes into a snowball. So very, very beneficial to bring in the other side of the brain. It's basically polar opposite. You've got logic on the left, you've got your emotion and creativity on the right, words versus pictures. You've got the action plan versus the kind of more big picture vision or mission, long-term goals versus short-term, the individual versus the group. And again, you might see the difference. You got relaxation on the right versus tension on the left. So if you can tap into both sides of the brain, a huge advantage, and not hard to do, as I showed you in the video. I need to tell you a story about this little girl I worked with years ago. She was 8 years old. I'm also trained as a neurotherapist. And she was a girl that came in. She had a learning disorder. That was her diagnosis. She couldn't do spelling or reading or math, all that kind of left brain stuff. And I was going to work with her doing neurofeedback. And out of curiosity, while I put her in and hooked her up to an EEG to basically train her brain in a very targeted way to either speed up or slow down, I actually put her in whole brain posture. I had her cross the midline at her ankles and at her wrists, and saw a very dramatic change in the response on the EEG. So then I took it one step farther. Rather than putting her in whole brain, I just put an X on a piece of paper and put it below the monitor, put it in her visual field, and I had the exact same result. Very dramatic change in her EEG in a positive way. So that kind of taught me something, and I figured out how to use that in other situations, and we'll get into that next. Kids are having a tough time in school. They've got a lot of distractions with the cell phone and computers. Really, the test scores have gone down, not up. If you can activate both sides of the brain, it actually throws the brain into a state of what Bruce Lipton, who wrote The Biology of Belief, calls a state of super learning. And again, what I taught that little girl to do before she took her, before she started studying, before she took her test, as an experiment, I said, do a lazy 8. Trace a sideways 8 on your desk before you start studying, before you start taking your test. And again, what that allowed her to do is process and retain more information while she was studying, but also allowed her to recall more information when she went to go test. Dad brought her back about 3 weeks later and said, I don't know what you've done to this girl, but now she's passing all her stuff. Well, she was studying in whole brain. She was taking her test in whole brain. You can do the same thing with your kids. This isn't rocket science. It's been around since the 1970s. And any movement or posture that crosses the midline stimulates both sides of the brain. Or you can just put an X somewhere in their visual field. And basically, I saw that in the EEG with this little girl, has the exact same effect. So I work with a lot of college students and high school students, and I just have them below their computer monitor, put an X on a piece of paper, or put it on a little Post-it note in the upper left-hand corner. So grades grow up dramatically because, again, it allows you to process and retain more information. So that's how it works in the school system. Also can help at work. And I've got a lot of people that are stressed out. I had a guy I was working with not long ago up in Buffalo. He would wake up to 300 emails. He was typically in a bad mood, and his day was in a state of stress. Again, the left side of the brain wants to be in control. Everything's got to go according to plan, and he had a ton of stuff on his plate. So the only thing that I did with him, again, as an experiment initially, had him put an X on a piece of paper. He actually put it in the upper left-hand corner of the monitor. And I know the X stimulates both sides of the brain, again, going back to that EEG. And he very quickly was able to be more go with the flow in regard to what was on his plate on a daily basis. So it works in the workplace. Most people work on the computer all day long. Put it on a piece of paper and tape it below the keyboard, or put it in the upper left-hand corner on a Post-it note. So it helps with work as well. And driving. Driving's another situation. A lot of very distracted people. They've got a lot on their mind. Unfortunately, sometimes they're talking on the phone, or they've got somebody sitting in the passenger seat. As another experiment, just simply putting an X on the rear view mirror from one corner to the other. A big X, you can use a highlighter. Doesn't have to be very dramatic. Your vision will pick out a very faint line. It actually allows people, they have to check the mirror on a regular basis, throws them into a whole brain state while they're driving. So again, they're processing more information. The right side of the brain has, according to Bruce Lipton, again, 1 million times more processing power than the left. And this is where 90% of people live. So this, I've got a lot of people with anxiety. They don't like to drive. And this is another fix to allow them to kind of deal with it and go down the road in a state of peace.